my Amendment 100, and this is an issue I clearly care a lot about, the whole issue of water pollution and the supply of clean water to everybody. But I feel with this bill we're just papering over cracks. If we are going to paper over cracks, at least we could try perhaps a radical departure. Perhaps we could try to bring some democracy into the regime. Now, I want to take issue with the Noble Lord, the Duke of Wellington, and with the Noble Lord, Lord Remnant. I have chaired a board. It was an extremely successful board, and part of that was because I actually invited people who thought very differently onto the board. We had 20 members or so. It was called London Food. We were tasked with writing a report for the Mayor of London on the sustainable foods, a sustainable food strategy for London. And it was successful, I would argue, partly, obviously, because of my charm, but more than that, it was successful because we had extremely good reports from all over, from every single aspect of food and the food supply for London. And so we had a member from the city who was obviously a Conservative. We had somebody who was an organic farmer, and so on. We had a huge range, but we agreed on the strategy and we actually came to some very useful conclusions. And so I would argue that perhaps this is what we need. We need some democracy in the systems that try to keep us safe. And quite honestly, I think given the scale of the challenge that the water industry faces at the moment in trying to actually make a system work that has proved not to work, we actually need to ensure that there are some new voices there, some voices that can represent other parts of society and other parts of society that use the water system and care very deeply about it. And we should also, of course, involve the people who actually do the work. Now, my amendment actually brings in people from the workforce, and I would argue that at the moment the CEOs and senior staff are more focused on delivering dividends than they are focused on delivering a quality service. And so I think that water's representatives on the board would actually provide a constant voice for those whose job it is to provide a service. The regulators have been captured by the industry that they're meant to be keeping an eye on, so I would argue that they're almost useless. And this system should not be a national scheme, but based on the geography of the water systems themselves. Now, I'm a believer in democracy, and I think this would be an extremely useful way of making sure that a crucial industry for our society actually has some resonance with people out there. I'm sure that this would actually be welcomed by the majority of people. I'm sure the Noble Lady the Minister is aware that the polls suggest a majority of people would prefer public ownership. But failing that, let's get the public in there, talking and being listened to.